Afghanistan, a land of mountains, empires, memory, and untold stories. For thousands of years, this rugged and remarkable country has stood at the crossroads of civilizations. East met West here. Traders, conquerors, monks, poets, kings, and travelers all passed through these lands. Some came to build, some came to rule, some came searching for wealth, faith, glory, or power, and all of them left something behind. But Afghanistan is more than a place shaped by invasion and empire. It is more than a headline, more than a battlefield, more than the narrow image the outside world so often sees. It is a land shaped by memory, a place where history is not hidden away in museums, but carried in stone, in custom, in food, in ruined walls, in prayer, in songs, and in the lives of its people. Every valley seems to guard an old secret. Every mountain pass feels as if it has watched the world change 100 times over. Every city carries the echo of another age. And that is what makes Afghanistan unforgettable. This is a country of extraordinary contrasts, harsh yet beautiful, ancient yet alive, scarred yet enduring. It is a land where silence can feel sacred and where a crowded market can feel like history itself still breathing. It is a land where empires came and vanished, but the spirit of the people remained. To understand Afghanistan, one must look beyond the obvious, beyond the surface, beyond politics and beyond war, because this land is far older than its modern struggles. Its story did not begin with the news cycle, and it does not end there. Afghanistan is a place where geography shaped destiny, where mountains protected, divided, and challenged, where valleys preserved memory, where caravans once carried silk, spices, manuscripts, gemstones, and ideas, where faiths met, where languages crossed, where cultures blended. It is a place where the past never feels entirely gone. The cliffs of Bamiyan still carry the memory of what stood there for more than 15 centuries. The gardens of Kabul still preserve the dream of empire. The tilework of Herat still reflects a world of beauty and refinement. The blue waters of Bandi Amir still seem almost impossible against the dry mountain stone. The stories told in village homes still keep old worlds alive. And through it all, Afghanistan remains unmistakably itself. Its people endure. Its traditions endure. Its hospitality endures. Its dignity endures. Today we journey across this land. We move from the capital to the valleys, from great cities to high mountain silence, from food and poetry to ruins and legends. We explore not only what Afghanistan is, but what it has meant to the world for centuries. And our journey begins in the heart of the nation. Kabul. Chapter 2: Kabul, the city of stone, dust, and endurance. Kabul is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Its story stretches back well over 3,000 years, perhaps even longer. Set high within a valley and surrounded by rugged mountains, Kabul has always been more than just a city. It has been a gateway. Its position made it valuable from the very beginning. Caravan routes once crossed through here, carrying silk, spices, manuscripts, horses, gemstones, metalwork, and ideas between regions and empires. Armies marched through its passes. Dynasties fought to claim it. Traders grew wealthy within its markets. Travelers found shelter here. Scholars passed through. And generation after generation of Afghan families made their lives here. To understand Kabul is to understand something essential about Afghanistan itself. Kabul is layered, complex, restless, enduring, a place shaped by survival and by constant change. From above, the city seems cradled by stone. Mountains rise around it like silent guardians. In some seasons their slopes are brown, sharp, and dry. In winter they hold snow. Below them spreads the city itself, dense and alive. Houses climb the hillsides. Roads wind through crowded districts. Minarets rise over rooftops. Markets pulse with movement. Traffic and voices merge into a constant urban rhythm. And everywhere there is life. The city wakes early. Bakers rise before dawn. Fresh bread emerges warm from ovens. Tea is poured. Shopkeepers raise their shutters. Children move through alleys and courtyards. Drivers navigate crowded roads. Merchants lay out their goods. The call to prayer floats over the sounds of engines, footsteps, bargaining, and conversation. Kabul does not stand still. And perhaps that is one of the most important things to understand about it. For all it has endured, Kabul is not frozen in tragedy. It continues, it adapts, it survives. Over the centuries, many worlds have touched Kabul. It was connected to the Achaemenid Persians. It knew the influence of Alexander the Great and the Hellenistic age that followed. It became part of the Kushan world, linking Central Asia and South Asia and helping shape the spread of Buddhism. Later it was transformed by Islamic dynasties, Turkic rulers, Mongol invasions, and Mughal ambitions. Each age left traces. Some left ruins, some left language, some left faith, architecture, memory, or scars. Kabul became a city of layers where no era fully erased the one before it. Instead, history settled into the city, one generation on top of another. Walk through Kabul, and that layered character can still be felt. The old and the new live beside each other. Tradition and adaptation move together. The city carries the feeling of a place that has been broken and rebuilt many times, yet never entirely erased. There is also a human rhythm to Kabul that outsiders often miss. The city is not only a place of history, it is a place of routine. People go to work, students study, families gather, weddings are celebrated, holy days are observed, meals are cooked, children invent games in alleys and courtyards. Life pushes forward even when conditions are hard. That daily rhythm matters because survival is not only about staying alive, it is about keeping meaning alive, keeping relationships alive, keeping culture alive. And Kabul does that every day. Chapter 3: The Bazaars of Kabul, where the city speaks to itself. Its bazaars remain among Kabul's most vivid expressions of life. To step into a Kabul market is to enter another world. There are sacks of saffron and cumin, bundles of dried herbs, apricots, raisins, pistachios, almonds, and walnuts stacked high, carpets woven in bold patterns, copperware catching the light, embroidered garments hanging in color, prayer beads, books, shoes, tools, tea sets, and handmade goods filling the stalls. The smell of grilled meat drifts through the air, bread bakes nearby, tea simmers in kettles, shopkeepers call out to customers, friends pause to greet one another, bargaining rises and falls like music, conversations move between Dari, Pashto, and other local languages. In these markets, trade is only part of what happens. The bazaar is where the city speaks to itself. And here tradition survives not through grand monuments but through ordinary acts, buying bread, pouring tea, sharing food, visiting family, greeting a neighbor, walking to prayer, telling stories at dusk. These small continuities matter because in Afghanistan, identity often survives in daily ritual, in repetition, in hospitality, in gesture, in the simple insistence that life must go on. The bazaar is also a memory bank. Patterns in carpets hold old symbols, recipes passed through families appear in spice mixtures and breads. Handcrafted copper, wood, and embroidery reflect designs older than any living person. A market may look chaotic, but hidden inside that chaos is continuity. Every object tells a story. A woven rug can carry regional identity. A spice blend can carry family tradition. A teapot can carry hospitality. A prayer bead can carry faith. A book can carry inheritance from one generation to the next. And that is why the bazaar matters so much in Afghanistan. It is not only a place of commerce, it is a stage where culture continues to act itself out every day. Chapter 4: GRDNS, MOSQUS, and Memory in Kabul. Among Kabul's most peaceful and symbolic places are the Babur Gardens, known as Baghi Babur. At first glance they may seem like a beautiful garden with terraces, trees, pathways, and water, but they hold far more than beauty. They hold memory. They were laid out in the early 16th century by Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire. Though he would go on to conquer northern India and establish one of the most influential dynasties in South Asian history, Babur loved Kabul deeply. He admired its climate, its gardens, its mountain air, and its landscape, and when he died, he chose Kabul as his final resting place. That choice says something profound. Even for conquerors, there are places that feel like home. The gardens rise in terraces up the hillside, water channels move through them, trees provide shade, stone paths guide visitors upward. Their design reflects the Persian Mughal ideal of balance, harmony, and reflection. Families walk there, children play there, visitors sit beneath the trees, people pause near Babur's tomb. For a moment the noise of the city softens. In a city shaped by centuries of upheaval, the gardens offer calm. Another striking landmark in Kabul is the Shah-Du Shamshira Mosque. With its light yellow facade, layered balconies, and decorative arches, it stands out immediately. Its appearance reflects the many influences that have touched Afghanistan over time. The mosque is not only a place of worship, it is a reminder that Kabul has never existed in isolation. Ideas and styles moved through this city, and architecture preserved that movement. These places matter because they show another Afghanistan, a refined Afghanistan, a contemplative Afghanistan, a country not only of hardship but of design, symbolism, beauty, and artistic thought. But the true soul of Kabul lives not only in monuments, it lives in people. The baker rises before dawn. In the craftsman's shaping copper or wood by hand. The bookseller is arranging worn pages. The grandmother is pouring tea. The student is carrying schoolbooks through crowded streets. In the child flying a kite against the hard blue sky. Kabul's resilience is not abstract, it is visible in daily life, in the decision to keep going, to keep dignity alive, to keep family life alive, to continue working, learning, praying, celebrating, and rebuilding. And perhaps that is one of the deepest truths about Kabul. Its story is not only one of destruction, it is also one of endurance. Chapter 5: The Mountain Nation, When the Land Becomes Destiny. Leaving Kabul, Afghanistan begins to reveal another face. The roads stretch outward. The dense movement of the city gives way to distance. Valleys open, rivers appear, the mountains rise higher, the sky feels larger, the land begins to speak in another language. Afghanistan is one of the most geographically dramatic countries on earth. Much of it is mountainous, elevated, severe, and breathtaking. The Hindu Kush range runs through the country like a backbone, shaping everything from climate to settlement, from trade routes to warfare, from agriculture to culture. In Afghanistan, geography is never background. It is destiny. Mountains protected communities, they separated regions, they complicated conquest, they preserved traditions in remote places long after they changed elsewhere. They offered refuge. They also brought hardship, isolation, and difficulty. In Afghanistan, the land itself helps write history. High plateaus stretch toward far horizons. Narrow valleys shelter villages. Rivers cut thin lines of life through otherwise harsh terrain. In some places, snow dominates for months. In others, dry wind moves across dust and stone. The country can feel immense, silent, and almost untouchable. This landscape shaped not only the movement of armies and traders, but the character of daily life. Communities learned to endure in difficult conditions. Local identity grew strong in valleys, highlands, and remote settlements. The land demanded resilience, and resilience became part of the culture. Travel in Afghanistan has never been simple. Mountains created barriers as well as protection. Communities developed in relative isolation. Languages, customs, and local traditions could remain distinct because geography did not easily allow everything to mix at once. In that sense, the land protected diversity. Yet the same mountains also connected distant worlds through carefully chosen passes and routes. Traders learned where to move. Pilgrims learned where to cross. Armies tried and often failed to master the terrain. Geography was both wall and bridge. And nowhere does that feel more powerful than in the Bamiyan Valley. Chapter 6: Bamiyan, Beauty, Loss, and the Echo of Giants. Located in central Afghanistan, Bamiyan lies high among the mountains. It is a place that feels different almost immediately. The air is cooler. The sky opens wider. The cliffs rise in vast walls above the valley floor. Light shifts over the rock throughout the day, changing it from gold to amber to deep red and shadow. Bamiyan is beautiful but not in a loud way. Its beauty is solemn, spacious, reflective. It is a landscape that invites silence. But Bamiyan is not only beautiful. It is one of the most historically significant places in Afghanistan. Long ago, this valley stood on one of the great arteries of the Silk Road. Merchants, pilgrims, monks, and travelers passed through Bamiyan on journeys linking China, India, Persia, and Central Asia. Because of its position, the valley became a center of exchange, where goods, beliefs, art, and ideas moved across worlds. Before Islam became dominant in the region, Bamiyan was one of the great Buddhist centers of Asia. Monasteries flourished here. Monks carved caves into the cliffs for prayer, study, and meditation. Pilgrims visited from distant lands, and from the sandstone walls emerged one of the most astonishing creations of the ancient world. The Buddhas of Bamiyan. These colossal statues were carved directly into the cliff face between the 6th and 7th centuries. One stood about 55 meters tall, the other about 38. For well over 1,500 years, they watched over the valley. Imagine approaching Bamiyan in ancient times and seeing those immense figures rise out of the rock. Serene, monumental, majestic, they were not just sculptures, they were declarations of faith, artistic mastery, and cultural significance. They told the world that this valley mattered. Travelers wrote about them, empires came and went around them, time passed them by, weather touched them, history moved on. And still they remained. Until 2001. That year the statues were deliberately destroyed, and the world watched in shock. Their loss was not only Afghanistan's loss, it was a wound to human memory itself. And yet, even in absence, the Buddhas still speak. Today, the giant empty niches remain in the cliffs. Those spaces carry enormous emotional weight. They speak of what was taken. They speak of fragility, loss, and violence against memory. But they also speak of survival, because destruction did not erase meaning. The valley still remembers. Around the niches are hundreds of caves carved into the rock. Many once served as monastic cells, chapels, and meditation chambers. Some still preserve traces of ancient wall paintings, faded but extraordinary. These murals reveal artistic influences from India, Persia, and Central Asia, showing once again that Afghanistan was not peripheral to the ancient world. It was central. It was a meeting place of civilizations. Today, Bamiyan remains peaceful. Fields spread across the valley floor, villages rest beneath the cliffs. In winter, snow settles over the landscape. In spring and summer, green returns. The valley feels timeless, and perhaps that is why it stays with people so strongly. It is a place where history does not feel dead, it feels close. Bamiyan teaches something important about Afghanistan. This is a land where beauty and grief often live side by side. Where absence can be as powerful as presence. Where memory survives even when stone does not. Chapter 7: The Caves, the Wind, and the Quiet of Bamiyan. To truly understand Bamiyan, one must imagine not only the statues, but the world around them. The caves carved into the cliffs were not random hollows. They were parts of a living spiritual landscape. Monks once prayed here, studied here, slept here, and meditated here. Pilgrims climbed among these spaces searching for wisdom and blessing. The valley was not only a stop on a trade route, it was a sacred environment. Inside some caves, fragments of paintings remain. Colors faded by time, smoke, wind, and human damage still cling to the walls. In their details one can see how connected this valley once was to artistic worlds far beyond Afghanistan. There are echoes of India, Persia, Central Asia, and perhaps influences carried even further. This reminds us of something too often forgotten. Afghanistan was not only crossed by civilization, it helped create civilization. The valley today feels quiet, but that quiet is not emptiness. It is layered silence, a silence full of memory. The wind moving across the cliffs feels as if it carries old voices. The empty niches seem to hold not only loss but presence. Many visitors describe Bamiyan as haunting, but not in a frightening way, more in the sense that the place remains emotionally inhabited by its past. At sunrise, the cliffs catch the first warm light. At sunset, the rock turns deep gold and red. In those moments, Bamiyan feels almost suspended outside time. It is easy to understand why so many people leave with the feeling that they have stood in one of the rare places on earth, where history, sorrow, beauty, and silence meet completely. Chapter 8: Bandi Amir, the Blue Wonder of Afghanistan. Not far from Bamiyan lies another marvel. If Bamiyan is a place of memory, Bandi Amir is a place of astonishment. In the middle of a rugged highland landscape, surrounded by dry mountains and open sky, there suddenly appears a chain of lakes so vividly blue they seem almost unreal. The water shifts between sapphire, cobalt, and turquoise. Under sunlight it seems to glow. Bandi Amir is made up of a series of lakes, separated by natural mineral dams formed over thousands of years through the slow accumulation of calcium-rich deposits. Nature itself became an architect here, building barriers strong enough to hold entire lakes in place. The result is breathtaking. The water is clear and still. The mountains stand in silence around it. The air is thin and clean. The landscape feels almost untouched. It is easy to understand why so many people describe Bandi Amir as magical. Yet the place is not only beautiful, it is geologically rare and culturally important. For generations, local communities have regarded it with reverence, and when Afghanistan declared its first national park, Bandi Amir became that place. That matters because it reminds us that Afghanistan is not only a story of war and politics, it is also a country of extraordinary natural beauty, a country of lakes, valleys, plateaus, and mountain ecosystems that can rival any landscape in the region. To stand at Bandi Amir is to see another Afghanistan, one that feels almost dreamlike, one defined not by conflict but by stillness, not by headlines but by wonder. And perhaps that is why places like Bandi Amir matter so much. They widen the story. They remind us that Afghanistan is also a land of awe. The lakes seem to collect the sky itself. In the clear weather, blue above meets blue below, and the eye almost loses track of where reflection ends and water begins. The surrounding mountains, dry and rugged, only intensify the miracle of the color. The contrast is part of the beauty: hard stone, soft light, severe earth, luminous water. Bandi Amir feels like one of those places that should not exist, and yet there it is, calmly proving that nature can still astonish us. Chapter 9, PNJSHIR, The Valley of Five Lions. Moving north, we come to one of Afghanistan's most storied places, the Panjshir Valley. Its name means Valley of Five Lions. The name fits. A river runs through the valley, feeding fields, orchards, and villages. Green life cuts through the severity of the mountains. Steep slopes rise on either side. The valley feels both fertile and formidable, welcoming and hard. Panjshir is known for its beauty, but also for its symbolism. Its geography made it difficult to conquer. Over time it became associated with resistance, strength, and independence. Yet beyond history, Panjshir is also a place of ordinary life. Farmers work the land, families raise children, villages hold close to the river. The seasons move through the valley in rhythms shaped by water, shadow, and soil. There is a dignity in Panjshir, a groundedness. The same mountains that inspire awe also shaped its history. The same valley that nourishes life became a symbol of endurance. Panjshir teaches an important lesson about Afghanistan. Beauty and struggle often live side by side. The same land that shelters people can challenge them. The same mountains that inspire silence can shape history. The same valley that feeds a family can become part of a nation's memory. In spring and summer, the valley feels alive with water and green. In colder months, the air sharpens and the mountains feel even more commanding. Villages sit as if protected by geography, yet also defined by it. People here have long lived in close relationship with the land. Farming, memory, and identity are woven together. And this too is part of Afghanistan's story. Not only grand monuments, not only capitals and empires, but valleys where generations remain deeply tied to place. Chapter 10, Herat, the city of light, tile, and intellect. Further west lies one of Afghanistan's most culturally rich cities, Herat. If Kabul feels restless and layered, Herat feels elegant. For centuries, Herat was one of the great centers of art, architecture, poetry, learning, and spiritual life in the Persianate world. It was not only important to Afghanistan, it was important to the history of Islamic civilization. Herat carries refinement in its atmosphere. Its architectural legacy reflects centuries of cultivated beauty. Mosques, minarets, courtyards, tilework, and bazaars all speak of a city where art mattered deeply. One of its most famous landmarks is the Great Mosque of Herat, also known as the Friday Mosque. Its brilliant tilework in blues, whites, and turquoise creates one of the most beautiful sacred spaces in the region. Geometric patterns and calligraphy unfold across its surfaces with astonishing care. Every wall, arch, and line seems to express devotion through design. This is architecture as reverence. Herat's surviving minarets rise above the city like reminders of a more expansive past. During the Timurid period in the 15th century, Herat became one of the great artistic capitals of the Islamic world. Manuscript illumination flourished. Miniature painting reached extraordinary heights, poetry thrived, scholars gathered, creativity was cultivated with seriousness and pride. Even today, Herat retains that atmosphere of memory and artistic life. Its bazaars and workshops continue traditions passed through generations. Carpets are woven, ceramics are shaped, fabrics are embroidered, metalwork is engraved. In Herat, art survives not only in monuments but in the everyday things people make and use. And perhaps that is one of the most beautiful things about Afghan culture. Beauty does not always live in a museum. Occasionally it lives in a carpet, a cup, a doorway, a stitch, a verse, or a shared courtyard. Herat also reminds us that Afghanistan has long been a place of learning. Poetry, theology, philosophy, and art all found a home here. The city was not merely surviving history. At times it was shaping it. To imagine Herat in its great centuries is to imagine libraries, schools, workshops, scholars debating ideas, artists perfecting detail, poets composing lines meant to last beyond death. That world may not survive untouched, but its echo still lives in the city. Chapter 11, Mazar-i-Sharif and the Spiritual North. Travel north again and another important city appears, Mazar-i-Sharif. Its name means noble shrine, and it is famous for one of Afghanistan's most stunning religious landmarks, the Blue Mosque, also known as the Shrine of Ali. With its shimmering blue tiles, radiant courtyards, and luminous surfaces, it is one of the country's most beautiful sacred places. For many Afghans, Mazar-i-Sharif holds profound spiritual meaning. It has long served as a center of devotion, pilgrimage, trade, and exchange. The city adds yet another layer to Afghanistan's diversity, because there is no single Afghan landscape, no single Afghan city, no single Afghan experience. The north has its atmosphere, the west has its tone. The center, the mountains, the capital, and the valleys each tell the national story differently. The Blue Mosque itself feels almost otherworldly in the light. Its surfaces seem to shift as the day changes. Pigeons gather in the square. Pilgrims enter with reverence. Visitors pause in silence. It is a place where beauty and devotion meet. In cities like Mazar-i-Sharif, the spiritual dimension of Afghanistan becomes especially visible. Faith is not simply an abstract identity. It is lived through ritual, architecture, gathering, and everyday practice. Mosques are not only buildings. They are social worlds, cultural anchors, places where the sacred and the communal meet. And through places like this, Afghanistan reminds us once again that it cannot be reduced to one narrative. It is political and spiritual, harsh and elegant, remote and connected, old and still deeply alive. Chapter 12, The People of Afghanistan, Many Identities, One Enduring Spirit. Afghanistan is home to many ethnic, linguistic, and regional communities. Among the largest are Pashtuns, Tajiks, Hazaras, and Uzbeks, alongside many others including Turkmen, Aimak, Baloch, Nuristanis, and Pashai communities. Each has contributed to the country's cuisine, music, architecture, language, literature, and social life. This diversity has made Afghanistan rich, though often complex. Yet beneath difference, there are shared values that run deeply through much of Afghan life: hospitality, honor, family, respect for elders, faith, poetry, and attachment to place. Hospitality, above all, stands out. In many Afghan homes, a guest is not merely welcomed. A guest is honored, tea is offered, food is brought, space is made. Even when resources are scarce, generosity remains. And that says something profound about Afghan culture. True hospitality is not simply abundance, it is values, it is dignity, it is the belief that another person should be received with respect. Family holds a central place as well. In many parts of Afghanistan, family is more than a household. It is identity, continuity, support, memory, and responsibility. Elders are respected, gatherings matter, rituals matter, weddings matter, mourning matters, meals matter. The social world is built through relationships. And through those relationships, traditions endure. That endurance is one of the quiet strengths of Afghanistan. It is why culture can survive even in hardship. It is why memory can remain alive even when institutions fail. It is why people continue. Afghanistan's diversity also means that its story is never singular. Different regions have different accents, different cuisines, different styles of dress, and different local histories. Yet there remains a shared emotional core, a set of values that can be felt across geography. The world often looks at Afghanistan and sees only fracture. But there is also connection. And that connection often lives not in politics, but in the deeper language of daily respect, shared bread, common faith, poetic memory, and family obligation. Chapter 13, Poetry, Music, and the Voice of the Heart. Afghanistan is also a land of poetry. For centuries, poetry has played a central role in cultural life. It is recited at gatherings, quoted in conversation, remembered across generations. Poetry speaks of love, longing, grief, exile, homeland, faith, beauty, and endurance. It is part of the emotional vocabulary of the region. And perhaps no art form fits Afghanistan more naturally than poetry. This is a land of intensity, of distance, of beauty and pain, of silence and endurance. Poetry gives language to all of it. It allows a people to speak of memory, sorrow, courage, and belonging in a way that ordinary speech cannot always do. Music holds a powerful place as well. Traditional Afghan music draws from Persian, Central Asian, South Asian, and local influences, creating a sound that is rich and distinctive. The rubab, often called Afghanistan's national instrument, carries a tone that feels intimate, ancient, and unmistakably expressive. Music accompanies weddings, celebrations, gatherings, and moments of private reflection. It marks joy and sorrow alike. And storytelling remains essential. In homes, villages, markets, and family gatherings, stories are still told. Stories of ancestors, kings, saints, miracles, journeys, warnings, betrayals, and strange things seen in lonely places. In a country where oral tradition has always been strong, storytelling is preservation. It carries memory when institutions fail. It keeps identity alive through voice. This, too, is part of Afghanistan's resilience. To tell a story is to refuse forgetting. To recite a poem is to keep feeling alive. To sing is to say that beauty still matters. Even where books are scarce, memory can still carry verse. Even where hardship is constant, music can still mark celebration. Even where history wounds, words can still heal. And perhaps that is one reason Afghanistan's artistic traditions matter so deeply. They prove that the human spirit seeks beauty even in difficulty, especially in difficulty. Chapter 14, The Table of Afghanistan, Food, Family, and Hospitality. To truly understand Afghanistan, one must also sit at its table. Afghan cuisine is deeply tied to identity, hospitality, and family. Meals are often communal, generous, and deeply social. Food is prepared with care, served with pride, and shared with warmth. One of the country's best-known dishes is kabuli pulao. This fragrant rice dish, served with tender lamb or beef, carrots, raisins, and sometimes nuts, is more than a meal. It is a national symbol. Savory and sweet meat in balance. It reflects something essential about Afghan cuisine: elegance without excess, warmth without simplicity. Then there is mantu, delicate dumplings filled with spiced minced meat and topped with yogurt, lentils, and herbs. Mantu is both comforting and refined. It takes time and patience to prepare, and that labor becomes part of its meaning. Handmade food carries a different kind of love. Another beloved dish is biryani, a thin, pan-fried flatbread often stuffed with potatoes, pumpkin, lentils, or herbs. Crisp on the outside and soft within, it is simple, satisfying, and deeply rooted in Afghan daily life. Kebabs are also central. Grilled over open flames and served with naan, onions, and herbs, they are hearty and unforgettable. And bread, especially fresh naan, is essential. In Afghanistan, bread is not incidental to the meal. It is part of the foundation of it. Tea is everywhere. Green tea, black tea, it poured throughout the day, offered to guests, shared in conversation. Tea is not just a drink, it is welcome, it is rhythm. It is the beginning of connection. And perhaps that is the deeper truth about Afghan food. It is not only meant to be eaten. It is meant to be shared. The meal itself becomes a social space, a place for trust, a place for conversation, a place for family memory, a place where the guest becomes part of the circle. Food in Afghanistan is often tied to hospitality in the deepest sense. It is a way of saying you are safe here, you are welcome here, you are honored here. And in a land so often described through conflict, that matters enormously. Because hospitality reveals character. It reveals values. It reveals what remains human and generous even under pressure. Chapter 15, The Silk Road, Afghanistan at the center of the ancient world. Long before modern borders, Afghanistan stood at the center of one of history's greatest networks, the Silk Road. This vast web of trade routes linked China, India, Persia, Central Asia, and the Mediterranean world, and Afghanistan sat directly in the path of that movement. This meant exchange on every level. Goods crossed the land: silk, spices, lapis lazuli, gold, manuscripts, perfumes, but ideas moved too, religions spread, languages blended, art forms traveled, philosophies crossed borders. Afghanistan was not isolated from the ancient world. It was deeply connected to it. And for that reason, the land still holds traces of forgotten worlds. Archaeologists have uncovered extraordinary evidence of Afghanistan's ancient importance. One of the most famous discoveries is the Bactrian gold, a collection of astonishing ancient artifacts found in northern Afghanistan. These objects revealed a world of remarkable blending: Greek motifs, nomadic styles, Persian elegance, Indian echoes. It was as if the ancient world had met and fused here. And perhaps it had. These discoveries remind us that Afghanistan has long been more than a passageway. It has been a place of transformation, where civilizations interacted and created something new. That is one of the great forgotten truths of Afghan history. Powerful cultures did not merely cross it. It was itself a powerful zone of exchange. A place where artistic styles mixed, where religion traveled, where ideas matured, where the world met itself. And yet much remains unknown. Afghanistan's mountains, deserts, and remote valleys still hide archaeological mysteries. What ruins lie beneath the dust? What manuscripts remain undiscovered? What cities, shrines, and treasures still wait beneath layers of time and earth? This unfinished quality adds to Afghanistan's power. It feels like a land that still guards secrets. Chapter 16: Lost Cities, Buried Tisuis, and the Mystery of Distance. Across Afghanistan there are ruins on distant hills, broken walls in forgotten valleys, fortresses weathered by wind, and foundations swallowed by soil. Some are known to history. Others live mainly in local memory. Stories are told of hidden treasures buried during invasions and never recovered, of lost cities concealed in remote mountain corridors, of pathways known only to traders, shepherds, and ghosts. These tales have fascinated explorers for generations. Whether every story is literally true is not the point. What matters is that Afghanistan's landscape naturally invites mystery. The mountains conceal, the valleys isolate, the distances make certainty difficult. There are places where roads end and oral memory begins. In such places, legend survives easily. The imagination works differently in a land like this. A ruined wall on a lonely ridge does not feel like mere stone. It feels like the fragment of another world. A cave in a distant cliff does not feel empty. It feels inhabited by old stories. A road disappearing into mountains suggests not only geography but secrecy. And secrecy is part of Afghanistan's emotional landscape. It is a country where not everything is visible at once, where much remains hidden by terrain, time, or memory, where the land itself seems to resist full explanation. That is why mystery belongs here so naturally. Chapter 17: Folklore, Spirits, and the Shadows of the Mountains. Afghan folklore adds still another layer. In remote regions and mountain communities, stories have long been passed down about spirits, strange presences, unexplained voices, and shadowy figures seen in lonely places. Some speak of lights moving in the dark where no traveler should be. Others tell of caves that should not be entered, ruins that should not be disturbed, and mountain passes where something unseen seems to linger. To an outsider, these may sound like simple superstition, but folklore is more than belief. It is part of how people interpret fear, wonder, danger, and the unknown. In a land where nature itself can feel immense and overwhelming, it is no surprise that the unseen world is also imagined to be close. These stories are part of Afghanistan's cultural fabric. They live alongside religion, history, daily labor, and memory. They give the landscape another voice. And perhaps that voice is part of what makes the country so compelling. Afghanistan is a place where the visible world often feels ancient enough to carry the invisible close behind it. In many places around the world, folklore fades when modern life expands. But in lands marked by deep memory, difficult terrain, and powerful oral tradition, folklore remains alive. It becomes part of the way people map danger, wonder, and respect. A certain ruin may be avoided. A certain mountain path may carry a reputation. A cave may belong not only to geology, but to imagination. These tales matter because they tell us how people live with the land emotionally, not just physically. Chapter 18: A Land Tested by History. No portrait of Afghanistan would be honest without acknowledging hardship. This is a land that has endured invasion, conflict, empire, political upheaval, displacement, and profound suffering. Entire generations have known war as part of ordinary life. Families have been broken apart, cities damaged, futures interrupted. And yet Afghanistan still stands. That matters because resilience here is not a slogan. It is lived reality. It is found in the parent who still dreams for a child, in the teacher who keeps teaching, in the artisan who keeps creating, in the farmer who keeps sowing, in the family that rebuilds, in the insistence that life, dignity, and tradition must continue. Afghanistan has often been seen from the outside only through the lens of crisis, but crisis is not identity. It is part of the story but not the whole of it. Afghanistan is older than its wars, deeper than its headlines, larger than the narratives imposed upon it. And that may be the most important thing to remember. Afghanistan is not only a place marked by suffering, it is also a place marked by survival. Culture survives. Hospitality survives. Language survives. Poetry survives. Beauty survives. This survival is not loud. It often lives in small things: a meal shared, a poem remembered, a workshop reopened, a child going to school, a family gathering for tea, a wedding celebrated despite uncertainty, a story passed from one generation to the next. These are not small things at all. They are the foundations of endurance. Chapter 19: What the world often misses about Afghanistan. So often Afghanistan is seen only from the outside, and only in moments of crisis. The camera arrives when there is war, the headline appears when there is violence, the map is shown when power shifts, and then the deeper story disappears again. But Afghanistan is not only the place where events happen, it is a place where people live, a place where dignity matters, where memory matters, where family matters, where beauty matters, where hospitality matters. The world often sees Afghanistan in fragments, but the country itself is whole in a much deeper way. Its mountains, cities, food, poetry, architecture, and traditions are not separate pieces. They belong to one long civilizational story. It is a story of contact and resistance, of loss and continuity, of isolation and connection, of silence and song. To know Afghanistan only through conflict is to know almost nothing of it at all. Because beneath the surface lies one of the most culturally layered, historically important, and emotionally powerful lands on Earth. Chapter 20: Closing: What Afghanistan really is. So what is Afghanistan? Is it a crossroads of civilizations? A land of mountains and empires? A place of beauty and hardship? A country of memory and mystery? The answer is yes to all of it. Afghanistan is a land of contrasts: silence and movement, fragility and endurance, ruin and renewal, beauty and pain. It is a place where one can stand before the empty cliffs of Bamiyan and feel memory in absence, a place where blue lakes shine among the mountains like something imagined, a place where the streets of Kabul still pulse with life, a place where Herat still remembers beauty in tile and verse, a place where tea, bread, and welcome still define human dignity. Afghanistan is not just a place on a map. It is a living history, a resilient spirit, a land of untold stories. Its people continue. Its traditions continue. Its landscapes continue to inspire wonder. And perhaps Afghanistan's greatest mystery is not what we do not know, but how much still remains to be discovered.